This ain't just a channel, this is BBTV.
Welcome to What the Fork Wednesday, the stories that make you stop, blink twice, and ask yourself how this is real life. Logic has left the building. Let's begin.
Boss be rising, BBTV's igniting, turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel road to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss be rising, sky ain't even the ceiling when she hits go live, everybody feels it.
Well, that's what I get for having an intro daily, right? Ridiculous. It is not What the Fork Wednesday. That was yesterday. Today is Thankful Thursday. And, well, I'm not sure how thankful I am to be awake this day because it's just one of those days already, right? All righty. So, let me get my script up here because I sure don't know what I'm talking about today. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Ask a Bee, the only daytime courtroom where the cases are emotional, the evidence is screenshots, and the verdict depends entirely on whether you clap first or stare at the ceiling fan in silence. Because today we are deep in the land of gratitude, expectations, tone, timing, money, effort, and that extremely dangerous phrase people say right before a fight. I just don't see what the big deal is. Ouch. I hate those words, don't you? So, if you're new here, this is how it works. People write in with their letters, or I will go over to Reddit and find a very decent story. And then we read that together. I talk through it live with you. And then together we're going to decide if this is honey or if somebody earned a little stinger. And judging by the lineup today, we've got several people standing suspiciously close to the line with a paint roller in one hand and a wedding check in the other. And listen, I love a theme, okay? And today's accidental theme is what counts on appreciation and when you're supposed to say it, right? Before the gift, after the gift, during the planning stage, while somebody is knee deep in group chats and spreadsheets. The second the check clears. Yeah? No, because apparently everyone has a different internal calendar for gratitude. Nobody sends out a meeting invite explaining it, okay? We've got partners arguing, in-laws, doing home renovations, roommates quietly side-eyeing newlyweds over missing thank yous. Y'all, I hate wedding etiquette. Let me just put that out there, okay? I'm going to leave it there too. One birthday weekend that turned into a full philosophical debate about whether you're allowed to critique generosity while you're still holding the receipt. So yeah, emotionally, we are multitasking today. And as always, I want you to be active in the chat with me, okay? Drop in a hello. Just say hi. You don't have to say anything. You don't even have to give an opinion unless you want to, and then it's very much welcome here. So tell me if you're team honey or if, team stinger. In other words, say thank you immediately, or I already said it last week, or, something like, why are we fighting about paint? That's a good one. And when I pause, that's your cue to jump in, because half the fun in this show is watching the chat realize in real time that they do, in fact, have very strong opinions about wedding etiquette at 10 in the morning, 12 in the morning, 9 in the evening, right? We've got 3 stories, all different, all messy. Of course, I love my mess in their own special way, of course. And every single one of them made me stop and blink before I kept reading. I mean, a couple of times I blinked. Okay, maybe more than a couple. So, it's always a good sign to me that this is going to be fun. So, Get comfortable, refill the coffee, adjust the volume, and let's get into our first case of the day because apparently gratitude is simple until you live with other humans. Let's read it. Get it loaded up here. Y'all forgive me. I have to do my thing. And here we go. First story. Am I the a-hole for not being grateful enough? Uh-oh. All right. My wife and I are arguing over what she and her family think is a lack of gratitude on my part. I am naturally low key, so even when I am expressing gratitude for something she says, it seems insincere. I got one of those. I'm not the type to gush over presents or favors. I usually say thank you for X, Y, or Z, and that's about it. She thinks I'm an a hole for not being grateful enough for things done that benefit me even when they aren't done for me. Did I say I have one of those? While we were dating, I bought a car for myself and gave her my old one. Well, how generous. The old one. You're just dating. So I'm going to take that into consideration. Anyway, her dad drove her to the dealership to pick it up. Okay, thanks, Dad. Later on, she said that I should have said thank you to her dad for driving her there. I did the next day. Okay, retribution. But I didn't ask him to drive her there and had made arrangements with the dealership to leave my old car there overnight until I could drive her there the next day. What's the problem here, right? I can see how I benefited from him driving her. Okay, there we go. But he did that for her so she could have the car that you're giving her. Okay, next panel. Now we're married. Oh, good. And have a baby. And my relationship with her family is a little strained at the moment. It's an in-law. Expect that. Okay. How long have you been married? For Christmas, her parents got us a couple of 5-gallon buckets of paint because my wife wanted some painting done. Okay. Okay. I mean, my mother put a screen door on my house, so I get it. The past couple of weekends, her parents have come up on Friday and stayed overnight so they could paint the house while I'm at work. How nice. Now, my wife's told me when we've argued about this before that they said they feel like I'm too indifferent and ungrateful, but they don't do any of this stuff for me. Well, come on, it's your house too. So, yeah. And your wife's in charge of keeping the house, right? It's what it sounds like to me. She's a homemaker. Okay. Say thank you. It's not hard. Smile a little. It helps. So, I try not to hold that against them because I would never expect them to do anything purely for my benefit. Last night I came home from work 2 hours later than I was hoping to. And I was already having a bad day, so I wasn't in the mood to socialize. Understood, but don't be rude. I really just wanted to get home and go to bed because I am working today. Okay? They've been working hard on the house. I don't know. That's just me. I get home and I kiss my wife and baby and say hello to my in-laws that are there, then go to our room to change and get ready to go to bed. Okay. I mean, you could take 5 minutes. People. Okay. So my wife tells me that I'm an a-hole because I came home and didn't comment on anything they'd gotten done today or say anything to thank them. Well, you should have. She said it's rude that I only tell them how good it looks when they ask me about it and that I'm being ungrateful for something that does benefit me. I got mad and said I didn't think I was being rude or ungrateful because I've said thank you to them before. And when they came up last week, as well as when they gave us the paint, and that I didn't ask them for any of this. They, uh, mm, that left bad taste in my mouth. I'm sorry. No, you didn't. It was a gift. So they were doing it because it was what she wanted. You don't live in that house too, man. You don't want it to look better for when your friends or work buddies come over or something? Okay, I'm already on the stinger for him. She then decided to tell me that her dad has been in a bad mood because he's coming up here to do this for her, and he thinks I'm just going to be indifferent. She left in a huff and said she was sleeping in the baby's room tonight. So I just went to sleep and left the house at 6:30 to go to work. I don't understand what the big deal is. I've told them thank you and said it looks good, albeit when they asked. What else am I supposed to say? Am I the a-hole here? Well, all right, I think we got a lot to unpack here. I'm so indifferent. Sorry. No, I'm not. I have an answer for this. All right, let's slow this down because, okay, right now everybody is talking past each other like two radios on different stations. And somehow the in-laws are doing home improvement in the background while the static gets louder. And I want to start by saying this does not sound like a villain story on any of them, really. I mean, I have to say it. The parents are kind of right. He seems pretty indifferent to me. No, but it does sound like a personality mismatch, that has turned into a scoreboard nobody officially agreed to keep. Because you've got one side saying, I say thank you, that should count. Okay. And the other side saying, I need the thank you to come with jazz hands. Okay. And standing ovation. They've obviously been together a while. So for them to expect this, I guess, standing ovation type scenario is a little ridiculous to me too. They've known him long enough to have him date, marry, and have a child with their child. So what do you expect? You can't push somebody to be somebody else, okay? You knew who he was before you got married. There it is. And when I say I have one of these, that's exactly why I know what I'm saying here. You can't just understand it. You just have to go with it because it's part of what was him before the fact, right? And I think jumping his ass for it is kind of stupid too, because he's acting the same way he's always acted. And now after all this time, you're sitting there telling him it's wrong. Somewhere in the middle, a man is just trying to change his shirt and lie down before the next alarm clock commits violence against his soul, right? Which is extremely relatable. So let's get that out of the way first. This is not about whether gratitude exists in your heart. This is about whether your version of gratitude is visible enough to people who, they clearly operate in a much louder emotional font. Because some families whisper appreciation and some families perform it like an award ceremony. And neither one is wrong until they start insisting the other one is defective for not speaking the same dialect, right? And right now, your wife's family appears to be very much in the say it again, say it big, say it immediately. Maybe say it to the ceiling fan so it echoes, kind of camp thing. While you're over here, like, I said thank you last week. I believe it is still valid, which is honestly, it's a reasonable internal policy, but unfortunately not one that everyone else is running on their operating system, right? For my geeks out there. Now, where I think you started losing the room is not the part where you didn't gush, it's the part where you came home, saw active labor happening in your house, and went straight into sleep mode with without fresh acknowledgement in that moment. Because timing matters more than philosophy in domestic situations. And I know that is deeply annoying because you are thinking in terms of totals. Thank yous have been issued, compliments have been delivered, gratitude has been logged and stamped. While they are thinking in terms of live events, like we are currently holding paint rollers, please clap. And yeah, it feels silly when you phrase it like that, okay? But humans are silly, especially when they are tired, covered in primer, and sleeping in someone else's house. And your wife is probably standing there thinking, my parents drove up here again. They're sleeping on a guest bed. They're doing manual labor. My dad is already feeling sensitive. My husband just vanished into pajamas without a word. And even if that's not fair to you emotionally, that is almost certainly the movie playing in her head. And the thing about movies in people's heads is that they don't stop rolling just because the script is inaccurate. But, and this one is important, okay? You are not wrong for being low key. I want to protect that, mostly because I have one. It's one of the reasons you love each other. She fell in love with you, and you never changed that part about yourself. I do want to protect that because the internet loves to turn every personality difference into a moral failure. That is exhausting. You are allowed to be understated. Okay. You are allowed to not throw confetti every time someone uses a ladder. You're allowed to be tired after work. You're allowed to think, I thanked them already and I meant it. That does not make you some ungrateful gremlin lurking in the hallway waiting for drywall to dry, okay? And the fact that you did say thank you in the past and you did compliment the work when asked and you did acknowledge the paint when it was given, that matters. That is real. That counts, okay? And I'm not going to pretend otherwise just because your wife's family prefers applause on demand because they don't get to decide that your entire character is summed up by the volume knob on your voice. Okay. Where I think you shot yourself in the foot, though. Sorry. And I say this with love, and my one raised eyebrow is when you pivoted into, I didn't ask them to do this, they're doing it for her. Take that in for a second. Feel it, because you know that wasn't right. That sentence may feel logically airtight in your brain, but emotionally it lands like you just slid a manila envelope across the table labeled technicalities. And nobody has ever calmed down when someone opens that folder. Because yes, technically it was for your wife. And yes, technically you didn't request the service. And yes, technically the dealership had a backup plan for the car situation. But once you are married and living in the house that is currently being transformed by parental labor, you're no longer a neutral observer in the process. You got that? You are a resident beneficiary, period. Period. End of story. Dead ass. Whatever you want to say. Full stop. Even if the original inspiration come from someone else, okay? People don't experience generosity through footnotes. They experience it through vibes. And right now, the vibe they're catching from you, fair or not, is checked out, which is not what you mean. Okay. We get that. But it is what is being perceived and received and reacted to. And, reception, unfortunately, is the boss fight here, right? Right. Okay. Let me pivot to your wife for just a second, though, because she is not blameless in this either. And I refuse to let this turn into a one-person gratitude tribunal, because if she knows you are naturally reserved and not a big emotional broadcaster, then repeatedly framing that as you being an a-hole instead of a stylistic difference is not helpful. And running straight to my dad is in a bad mood because he thinks you're indifferent. That is basically tossing gasoline on a very small spark, because now it's not about paint, it's about reputation. And once you tell someone their in-laws think poorly of them, congratulations, you have officially escalated the situation to DEFCON Thanksgiving. Okay. And then sleeping in the baby's room instead of finishing the conversation is a dramatic mic drop that does not solve anything. Not at all. I can promise you that. 3 kids later, I can promise you that. It just lets everyone marinate overnight in their worst interpretations of each other, which is never, ever where clarity lives. Remember that. So where does that leave us? Because the question on the table is, am I the a-hole? And my answer is, this feels like a classic no villains, just misaligned expectations situation to me. Okay. That is how, that's slowly drifting into a-hole territory, purely though. And through stubbornness and missed signals, because you don't need to become a Broadway performer of gratitude. Okay. But you might need to start doing what I call the drive-by thank you. Okay. The quick, proactive, low effort acknowledgement the second you walk in the door. Okay. Just put it in your head as you're pulling up in the driveway. Something like, hey, that looks great. Thank you guys for working on it again. I really appreciate it. It's done. It's done. You've actually said thank you twice in that small little phrase. Yeah. And then you can still go change your clothes and collapse into bed like a Victorian child with a candle. Nobody is asking you to host a banquet here. They are asking for a sentence or 2. Right? Sorry. 1 sentence, fresh, in the moment, not pulled from last weekend's archive. And yes, it is mildly annoying that this is necessary, but marriage is 90% tiny performances we do so other people feel seen. And if the performance is 1 sentence long and saves you 3 days of tension, why not? That is an outstanding return on an investment, because it is. It's all an investment. The package includes her family, just like her package includes your family. Okay. At the same time, your wife needs to stop translating your quiet into hostility, because that is not fair to you either. Okay. I'm not on just one person here. And she especially needs to stop making you the villain in conversations with her parents, instead of pulling you aside and saying, hey, they're sensitive about this. Can you be just a little extra, a little more verbal? I don't think that's a terrible thing to ask. And I don't think it's asking too much, because that is teamwork, not ambush, right? And right now, it sounds like you two are operating on parallel tracks instead of as a unit, which is wild when you have a baby and wet paint involved. Two things, okay, that already require a ridiculous amount of coordination. So, no, I don't think you're an a hole for being low key, okay? I don't think you're an a hole for being tired. And I don't think you're an a hole for believing that the thank yous already gave were sincere. But I do think you're flirting with unnecessary conflict by treating gratitude like a prepaid punch card, right? Instead of a moment by moment ritual in the family. Okay? That clearly runs on fresh stamps. Just a second. Sorry, my dog is indifferent. And okay, so I think your wife is really, really, really flirting with unnecessary conflict by turning this into a character indictment instead of a communication tweak. Okay, that's my point here. Communication is key, and she is reacting right away instead of talking about it first or thinking about what's going on from all perspectives. And if you adjusted about 10% in opposite directions, your thank yous a little louder, her accusations a little quieter, you would probably never have to hear about the paint bucket again. Which honestly would, I think it would be everybody's long-term goal. It should be. And for the record, if her dad is already coming into these weekends, assuming you're indifferent, that is exactly why you start greeting him like he just finished the world's smallest home renovation marathon. Okay? It seems like a lie, okay, in a sense, because it's not you, but she's asking you to be just a little bit less like you. Okay, I get it. You don't want to change, and you shouldn't have to, but you should want to for her. You should want to be the better person. And we talked about this yesterday. It's about being the better person. Okay? Seriously. Because when you're tired, you're irritable, you're getting called something you're not, but you actually are, just not in the way that you're thinking, because you are being indifferent. And that's just your nature, right? But, nothing dismantles a narrative faster than a calm, immediate, hey, I really appreciate you're doing this. It looks great. It's not hard. It's one clean sentence. Let it out and let it go. I mean, can you imagine what you would have already avoided, right? Had you just went ahead and said that one little sentence. And do it before anyone has time to sharpen their feelings into weapons. Because at the end of the day, this is not about whether you are grateful in your soul. It is about whether the people around you can see it without having to squint. So, verdict. Y'all give me a hint. What do you think? I don't think there's any a-holes here at all. Okay, I think it's just a lot of miscommunication. But standing close enough to the line that the paint fumes are starting to get suspicious. Alrighty. So we have another story, of course. Load it up here. Y'all, I wish the weather would stop going back and forth. I mean, it is literally, oh, come on, phone. The one time I need you to open. It is literally, good Lord, 61 degrees outside. It is February the 5th. Yeah. We are now on the Earth's second breakfast, because we call this second spring, because we don't get one. We don't get a fall. We just don't. We get a hellacious one day of bad cold weather, and then the rest of it is just sweltering hot. All right. Next letter, or pardon me, story, whichever. Here we go. Am I the a-hole for expecting gratitude? It is Thankful Thursday, y'all. Even though my intro didn't say so. Okay, we're going to do this one just a tad bit different this time. I'm going to read this story. I'm going to let this sit with y'all for a few minutes while I take my little break then, okay? So here we go with the story. Okay, I just want to preface this post with, I understand that planning a wedding takes a lot of time and effort. Normally, thank you cards, notes come out at a much later time. Although we gave a friend a wedding card, should I expect at least a verbal thanks? Tiny backstory. My roommate, male 28 of 4 years, met a girl, female 28, on a dating website from a different country, and within a year they got married. Their wedding reception happened on Saturday, but we'll start from the night before. The newlyweds were out of town having their wedding and spending time with family. My girlfriend and 2 other roommates were at our apartment the night before, sitting down to write wedding cards. In our card, we included a check for a small sum of money. Very nice. After preparing the card, we set it down on the table where we keep everyone's mail. It's always a little messy because we're slobs. Okay, well, at least you're honest. All right, so the next day, we got ready for the wedding, and as we're heading out around 1:30 p.m., we couldn't find the thank you card. We looked around for about 15 minutes or so, but decided we should just head out so we wouldn't miss the reception. I sent a message in our apartment group chat that we lost their gift and that we were sorry. The bride responded, "We have the card." Apparently, they came home at 3 a.m. the day of the reception and grabbed all their mail. When we finally got there, I mean, that's a good thing, right? Okay, so when we finally got there, or got where the reception would be, we saw that they had cashed the check before we even noted that we lost it. Okay. You put their name on the envelope. When we went to the reception, they commented that they were sorry they took it without saying anything. Okay. Keep in mind, at this point, they took the check without saying anything. Acknowledge they took the check, previously cashed it in. Okay. Am I the a-hole for expecting them to thank us for the gift because we sort of talked about it? I know ultimately the gift was for them, and I'm happy they have it. I just feel weird given the circumstances. Okay. There's an edit. I hope this explains a little more. Okay, heard from our other roommates who gave them a wedding card gift that they said thank you to them after they got back from their honeymoon. Still haven't heard anything from them about it. What's the big deal here? This is your roommate. You really have to say thank you for everything? I don't know. Here's some more. Gave a roommate a wedding gift, and he didn't say thanks. Previously posted, am I the a-hole for not wanting to go, blah, blah, blah. Why is all that stuff in here? Dropping a roommate from the lease. Oh, okay. Well, that previously posted, I guess I've missed part of this, but I guess they dropped them from the lease. I'm missing half the story here, which really sucks. Because there's just no context here. But I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and take this break, and I'm going to find the rest of the story so we can have more context. How's that? Thanks. See you in a minute.
She came from the quiet storms, built a fire from the ground, turned a whisper to a warning. Now her voice shakes the town. Every setback was a lesson, every doubt became a key, unlocking something bigger. That's the rise of Boss B. When the lights go low, her vision hits high. She built a whole damn network off a promise and a try. Every sunrise, every moment, she's stacking legacy. This ain't just a channel, this is BBTV. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dreams, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. She's the queen of the comeback, the storm in the stream, crafting stories out of heartbeats, making visions out of dreams. Got thunder in the hustle, got a voice that cuts clean. Every mic she touches turns the power unseen. So let Bertha spin the numbers, let the views rise slow or fast. Boss B doesn't measure wins by echoes of the past. This moment is a pivot, this season's history. Bow down to the founder of the BBTV dynasty. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dreams, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. She's got fire in the head, it's got truth in the frame, got a heart that won't retire and a gift you can't name. Every loop, every letter, every dream she sets free, it's a love note to the world sign. Boss B. And the world keeps watching as the numbers climb, but she's counting all the moments, not the dollar signs. From the late night grind to the daylight scene, she's building something bigger than the algorithm's dream. Boss B rising, BBTV shining, her story's rewriting, a legacy in real time. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dreams, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. BBTV, where the stories breathe. BBTV, where the dreamers believe. Boss B rising, watch her take her place. This is BBTV, this is her grace.
Join Boss B for Ask a Bee Monday through Friday, 12 noon Central Standard Time and Jukebox Journey every Saturday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
All right. Well, I guess that was the whole story. That's what I get for letting somebody else choose it for me. All right. I'm going to unpack what we got. Right now, this feels like a case of social etiquette expectations colliding with real world chaos, and everybody quietly staring at their phones, wondering who was supposed to say what first. Come on, you got to remember this is a wedding, and they probably thought that they did and they forgot. Okay. Come on. I want to start by acknowledging the extremely specific flavor of awkward here, too, because we gave you money and you cashed it. We know you cashed it. We know you cashed it, and nobody has said the magic words yet. Which, I mean, it's a niche but powerful strain of discomfort. Because, okay, look, you're not mad, you're side eyed mad, okay? You're standing in the kitchen, mentally rearranging the spice rack while thinking, this is strange. And honestly, that's fair. Okay. Because even in the most relaxed anti thank you card households, the universal baseline for receiving a gift from someone you live with is usually at least one verbal, hey, thanks for that. Yeah. Preferably before the check clears the bank. And yes, weddings are chaotic, okay? And honeymoons are exhausting and families descend like well dressed locusts. But manners do not evaporate the second someone puts on a tux either, okay? They just get delayed a little. That's, I think, what's making this itch for you is the combination of timing and proximity, okay? You weren't some distant cousin mailing something from 3 states away. You were physically in the apartment. The card was taken from the shared mail pile at 3 in the morning, okay? The check was cashed before you even realized it was gone. And then when the topic surfaced, the acknowledgement stopped right away at, sorry, we grabbed it. Okay, it's not the same sentence as thank you for the gift. Those are cousins, not twins. And your brain noticed the difference immediately. Now, where I'm not going to let this spiral into villain territory is this. These two were in full wedding vortex mode, which is a special mental state where days blur together. Hey there, Des. So days blur together, right? Everyone is running on adrenaline and champagne fumes. Of course, it's a wedding. And even basic tasks like replying to text feels like advanced calculus. So it is entirely plausible that in their minds, the apology for grabbing the card plus the later thank you to the other roommates plus the general post honeymoon life reset somehow translated into we handled that. Even though they did not, okay? At least not with you. And that disconnect is how tiny social glitches turn into lingering resentment marinated in group chats and passive aggressive dish stacking. And nobody wants to live in that house, right? That's a terrible atmosphere to be in, especially when leases and former AITA posts are already floating around like ominous prequels, right? But here's the key distinction I want to make here, because this is where people get tripped up. Expecting gratitude is not the same thing as demanding a parade, and you are not asking for engraved stationery or a violin accompaniment, right? You're asking for one simple human eye contact level acknowledgement that, yes, they noticed the gift. Yes, they appreciate it. And most definitely, yes, the money did not just manifest out of thin air like a mysterious wedding fairy dropped it on the counter at 3 a.m. But let me tell you something. When I give a gift, even if it's money or gift card or whatever, I'm going to put it straight to you, okay? Even if somebody asks me for a loan and I have it, okay, I'm going to hand it to them. But I don't expect that back, okay? That's a gift. I don't give out loans, I give gifts. If I have it, I will help. But, a thank you is good, okay? Say thank you. So, It's, gosh, I don't know. This one's driving me nuts. That money, it did not just manifest out of thin air like mysterious wedding fairy dropped it. Okay, not on the counter at 3 a.m. And come on, given that they explicitly thanked the other roommates later, your weird feeling is not coming from nowhere. Okay, I'll give you some credit here. It is coming from comparison, which is the most irritating little gremlin in the social interaction brain. Because once you know other people got the thank you and you did not, your mind immediately opens a spreadsheet titled Possible Interpretations and starts populating cells you did not ask for. Nope. That said, and here's where I gently poke you with the conversational stick. You are hovering right on the edge of over indexing on the sequence of events, okay? Because once the acknowledged taking the card and once the wedding passed and once life moved forward, the healthiest next move would probably have been either to let it go entirely, I'll vote for that one, or to casually reset the moment with something like, hey, I'm glad you guys got the card. Hope the honeymoon was amazing. I mean, you shouldn't have to poke that bear, but you can be the better person doing it, okay? Which gives them a clean on ramp to respond with the thank you without anyone having to formally declare a gratitude tribunal in the living room, right? Because right now, right now, the danger is less about whether you're right to notice and more about whether this becomes another mental sticky note in the growing collage of roommate grievances. Okay. Those collages always start small and end with somebody arguing about whose turn it is to buy paper towels in like it's I don't know, Supreme Court case. Okay. So am I calling you an a-hole for expecting some acknowledgement? Heck no. Okay. That expectation is extremely normal, especially in closed living quarters. This is your roommate, when they get back from whatever it is that they're doing for their honeymoon, there's plenty of opportunity for him to do this, right? And yes, money is involved, but like I said, money shouldn't be the factor at all. Okay. Keep your eye on the thank you, not the money. It shouldn't matter that they cash the check before they even had the reception or whatever. It was for them. You left it in that pile. That pile was for the house. That means you gave them permission immediately. Sure, hey, thank you. I received it. That would have been nice. A little text you could wake up to in the morning or something, a little note where you took the letter from. Do that. It's not that difficult. You don't have to take somebody off of the lease just because they didn't say thank you. That is ridiculous if you ask me. That is absolutely ridiculous. And they could have demonstrated that they are capable of saying thank you to other people in the same situation, right? Which means it's not ideological opposition to gratitude. This is just a dropped conversational ball, possibly due to distraction, possibly due to oversight, because they assumed the apology plus the general wedding thank you energy covered it, which is clearly it didn't. Okay, but this is the other half of the verdict. Okay, you would become the a-hole if this quietly mutates into simmering resentment without either letting it go or giving the universe a low stakes chance to fix itself. Because not every social misfire is a referendum on character. And right now, this reads far more like busy newlyweds fumbled the etiquette follow through. Okay? More than we see you, we took your money, and we deliberately chose silence. That's the way I think you're seeing it. I really do. That's the way I think you're seeing it. And intent matters a lot when you're deciding on how much emotional rent a situation gets to occupy in your head. So the clean version of the take is this, all right? You're not wrong for feeling weird about it. You're not unreasonable for expecting a thank you. And the fact that they thanked other roommates makes the omission noticeable rather than petty. But this is also not a hill that needs a flag planted on it, unless it becomes part of a larger pattern of disrespect, okay? The easiest fix is either to mentally file it under wedding chaos, probably unintentional, or to casually reopen the door in conversation and let them step through it with the missing sentence, because sometimes people really do need the social equivalent of a blinking cursor to realize they forgot to type something. So what's your verdict? What do you think? Not the a-hole for expecting gratitude. Just be careful you don't let one awkward thank you adjacent moment turn into a full roommate saga sequel when this one could still end quietly with everyone back to arguing about whose leftovers are whose. I mean, come on. It's pretty easy, right? It's not a big deal. So let it go. Just let it go. Y'all just need to let it go. Can't we all just get along? All right. That was a lot of emotional bookkeeping right there for one daytime show, you know? And I love every second of it because today really proves something. Gratitude is not a universal language. It's more like a dialect. And half of us learned it in a quiet household. The other half learned it in a Broadway musical. And somehow we all keep dating each other. We had paint rollers, wedding checks, surprise birthday weekend, spreadsheets. Oh my gosh. Tone debates, in-laws with opinions, roommates with side eyes, and at least 3 people who thought they were being perfectly reasonable until the internet gently adjusted their posture. And honestly, that is a premium Ask Me territory right there. So before you go, if you've got thoughts, drop them in the comments. If you're watching the replay, definitely leave a comment for me, okay? Tell me where you landed, honey or stinger, on each one. Who needed to tweak their tone? Who needed to say one more sentence before going to bed? Who absolutely should have led with thank you before opening Excel? And if you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe. Maybe even consider becoming a member. Make sure you hit that like button for sure, because this is what we do. Real letters, real reactions, real-time verdicts, and a chat that somehow turns into group therapy for people who insist they are totally fine. We'll be back with another Ask a Bee very soon, come Monday. It is, tomorrow. It is Thursday. See, my days are all mixed up. My intro said Wednesday. It's actually Thursday, and I'm thinking it's Friday. We'll be back with another Ask a Bee, okay, tomorrow, 12 noon Central. More stories, more debates, more moments where somebody says one innocent sentence and accidentally starts a 3-day argument. Okay, it's Freak Out Friday. Don't forget. Until then, take care of each other. Say the thank you out loud, okay? And if you're about to critique a gift, maybe add one compliment first. See you next time. I'll buzz you later. Y'all watch these promos.
I want to take a minute to shout out Tuber Chat. If you're a creator who's tired of surface level advice, and actually wants to understand how YouTube works, that's the space. It's real conversations with real creators who are in the trenches building channels, testing ideas. No posturing, no gatekeeping, no fake guru energy, just people sharing what's working, what isn't, and why.
If you're serious about growing, learning, and not doing this alone, check out Tuber Chat. The link is in the description. If you're enjoying this show, subscribing is the easiest way to support what's being built here on BBTV. You'll see the join button right next to subscribe. No pressure, no expectations, just an option for people who want to support the channel in a real way. We're live weekdays at 12 p.m. Central, and each day has its own focus. Same honesty, same voice, just different conversations depending on the day. And if you've got a story you want to share, send it in. Anonymous is always fine.
Boss be rising, BBTV